It started on an afternoon like any other. The date was November 26, 2025. In the bustling district of Tai Po, life moved at its usual steady rhythm. Families were preparing meals. Children were finishing their homework. The elderly were resting in the familiar comfort of their homes. Wang Fuk Court, a cluster of residential towers, stood against the sky, a vertical neighborhood teeming with life. But just before 3 o'clock, at 14:51 to be exact, a single tiny spark ignited a nightmare. A quiet Tuesday afternoon was about to be shattered into a million pieces. A woman living in one of the towers was the first to sense that something was terribly wrong. It wasn't a loud noise, or a sudden shake, but a smell. A strange, acrid smell of smoke began to creep into her apartment. She walked to her window and peered outside, her heart beginning to pound with a quiet dread. There, against the familiar sight of the building opposite, she saw it. A faint, almost shy orange glow flickering on the bamboo scaffolding wrapped around the tower. It was small, but it was growing. Her instincts screamed at her to act. She rushed from her apartment, footsteps echoing in the quiet hallway as she made her way down. She found the building's security guard. Her words tumbled out in a rush of panic. She pointed upwards, describing the smoke and unsettling glow. His response was dismissal. He said there's no fire. His calm demeanor stood in stark contrast to her rising fear. Feeling unheard and powerless, she returned to her flat, a knot of worry tightening in her stomach. By the time she reached her door again, the scene outside her window had transformed. The small, hesitant flame she had seen was no longer small. It had become a hungry, roaring blaze, consuming the green netting and bamboo that encased the building. The fire climbed, moving with terrifying speed from one floor to the next. The calm of the afternoon had vanished, replaced by the horrifying spectacle of a firestorm being born. The 5 minutes between that first spark and the inferno felt like an eternity and no time at all. This was not a slow burn. This was an explosion. The fire spread with a speed that defied belief, a brutal lesson in how quickly modern life can unravel. The key to its rapid journey was the very material meant to aid in the building's renewal, the scaffolding. The bamboo latticework acted like a perfect ladder for the flames. Paired with the cheap, flammable green netting, the exterior became a massive wick. The fire didn't just climb, it leaped, racing upwards, racing outwards. A vertical river of destruction. What should have been a shield became a weapon. Investigators later found a devastating detail. Foam panels had been attached to the exterior windows. They had been chosen for reasons that will be debated for years. Those panels were highly flammable. When the climbing heat reached them, they didn't just burn. They ignited with explosive force. Each panel became another source of fuel, supercharging the inferno and helping it jump from one block to another. In minutes, one tower's fire had spread, engulfing 7 of the 8 buildings. Imagine the terror inside. People were going about their day, completely unaware of the danger scaling the walls outside. They were separated from a raging inferno by a single pane of glass. For many, the first sign wasn't an alarm, but the sight of flames licking at their windows. The heat became intense. The glass began to crack. In a disaster of this magnitude, the flames are only part of the story. The true tragedy is often found in the silence that came before. In 8 of the buildings at Wang Fuk Court, there was a deafening, deadly silence where there should have been a warning. The fire alarm systems were not functioning properly. When investigators from the fire services department later tested the alarms on site, they pushed the buttons and nothing happened. There was no sound at all. Residents were robbed of the most critical tool in any fire time: the chance to get out, to move, to escape. This initial failure was compounded by human error and neglect. We know the story of the woman who bravely reported the first sight of smoke, only to be dismissed by a security guard. That single moment represents a catastrophic breakdown in the chain of safety. A simple check, a quick call to the fire department, could have changed the outcome for so many. Instead, a crucial window of opportunity was closed. When the last flame was finally extinguished after more than 43 hours of relentless firefighting, the true scale of the devastation began to emerge. The numbers are staggering. As of today, the official count stands at 128 lives lost. 128 souls. Each one a person with a story. They were mothers, fathers, grandparents, and children. The number of injured was immense. Many suffered severe burns. Many suffered smoke inhalation. In the initial chaos, more than 150 people were listed as missing. Families waited for days, clinging to a sliver of hope, their eyes fixed on the blackened towers where their loved ones were last seen. Rescue workers risked their lives. A team pulled a male survivor from a 16th-floor staircase, a small miracle. But for every rescue, there were discoveries of tragedy. Mr. Law, a 72-year-old resident, found himself in a temporary shelter, grateful to be alive, but mourning the community he had lost. In the face of such overwhelming loss, the city's response showed its capacity for compassion and its demand for justice. The wheels of investigation began turning immediately. The Hong Kong government launched a full-scale probe. The police force launched a full-scale probe, determined to find answers and hold someone accountable. What they found confirmed the public's worst fears. This was a preventable disaster. The trail of negligence led directly to the renovation project, and arrests soon followed. It was a clear signal that mistakes of this magnitude would have consequences. 8 people were initially taken into custody: directors of the consultancy firm, project managers, scaffolding subcontractors. Later, 3 men from a construction company were arrested on suspicion of manslaughter by way of gross negligence. These were not just low-level workers. These were the people in charge, responsible for decisions about materials and safety supervision. Alongside the quest for answers came an outpouring of support. The Hong Kong government established a support fund with an initial HK 300 million. But the people of Hong Kong went even further. Public donations poured in, reaching over HK 1 billion by the weekend. Each affected household received an emergency subsidy to help them through the first night. Shelters were opened, volunteers mobilized offering food, clothing, and a shoulder to cry on. The world watched. Condolences from at least 34 countries offered a global embrace. Now, we stand at a crossroads. The grief is still raw, the questions are still being asked, and the rubble still serves as a stark reminder of what was lost. This fire must be more than a tragedy. It must be a catalyst for change. The memory of the 128 people who died at Wang Fuk Court demands that we do better. We must insist on stricter building codes, uncompromising safety inspections, a culture where profits are never placed before people. Every family deserves to feel safe in their own home. This must not and cannot ever happen again.
If your feed looks like noise, you're a seeker. If your brain wants context, you're home. If you love stories that stick, hit subscribe.